Where is God when bad things happen? Is he just somewhere sitting in heaven looking down at us, or has he turned his back on us? If you've ever wondered or asked yourself any of these questions, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Aminata Coote, founder of the Hebrews12endurance.com website and author of the book, How to Find Your Gratitude Attitude. And today's devotional comes to us from John chapter 16, reading verses 25 to 33 from the New King James Version. These things I have spoken to you in figurative language, but the time is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figurative language, but I will tell you plainly about the Father. In that day you will ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I shall pray the Father for you, for the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me, and have believed that I came forth from God. I came forth from the Father, and have come into the world. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father. His disciples said to him, See, now you are speaking plainly, and using no figure of speech. Now we are sure that you know all things, and have no need that anyone should question you. By this we believe that you came forth from God. Jesus answered them, Do you now believe? Indeed, the hour is coming, yes, has now come, that you will be scattered, each to his own, and will leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. So here's the setup. Jesus was in his final hours here on earth. He knew that in a very short time he'd be taken before Pontius Pilate and that he would be crucified. And he knew that after his crucifixion, he would eventually be returning to heaven to his Father. So he's telling his disciples, remember what I've taught you, and if I go, I'm going to send somebody else who is just like me to comfort you. And if you go back to John chapter 14 and read from chapter 14 to chapter 16, you'll see where he gives these comforting messages. He encourages his disciples to abide in him and to remain connected to him, because when we connect to Christ, then we're also connected to the Heavenly Father. Now, here's the funny thing. Do you realize when he told the disciples, he said, you will soon be scattered? Because even before it happened, Jesus knew that in his darkest moments, in his greatest, deepest despair, that the people who called themselves his friend, the people who he loved most on earth, that they would abandon him. In fact, we're told in Mark chapter 14 verse 50 that all his disciples forsook him and fled. As you go down further in Mark chapter 14, you'll realize that even one of his disciples actually fled without his clothes. I mean, this guy was so determined not to be caught up with Jesus that he didn't even care that he was naked. The thing about Christ is that he knew that even though all the people on earth would have abandoned him, he knew that his Heavenly Father did not forsake him. And despite the fact that on the cross he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? His very next thought, his very next word is, into your hands I commend my spirit. It proves to us that even though Jesus felt as though God had abandoned him, he knew that God did not leave him. God had not forsaken him, despite how it felt in the moment. The same thing applies for all of us, for each of us. God has promised us. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I'm always going to be with you. He says, when you go through the waters and through the flood, through the fire, I'm going to be there with you. I don't know what kind of trials you're going through right now, but I'm going to remind you today, my friend, that God is with you. He has not abandoned you. It may feel as though you're going through it all alone, but God is right there with you. And to remind you of this, I'm going to offer you a free download that has a lot of verses that you can use to remind yourself of these moments that He still remains with you. God has kept his word. He remains faithful to you. So if you are interested in that download, I'll put the link in the description box below and you can go ahead and download it. So now it's your turn. What is it that you do in those moments when you feel as though God has abandoned you? Share it with me in the comments. I'd love to hear your responses. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. Please be sure to hit the bell so that you can know whenever I post new stuff. So until next time, this is Amy. I'm encouraging you to know God, know yourself, run. run your race. Until next time, bye.